I love Half-Life. It was the first game that I ever had on the first console that I ever owned. I remember when I was just 5 years old after being gifted the PS2 by my uncle. He had downloaded all of his games onto discs to save this trouble of buying them. Growing up a bit, I started to discover the little details and intricate level designs, as well as the storytelling that Valve implemented in their games. So when I heard that there was a fan remake in development, I was so excited. Since I wasn't a PC gamer at the time, I would always watch the first trailer of Black Mesa and admire this ambitious project and get hyped every single time I saw it. This video will dive into my absolute love for Black Mesa and how it is truly the definition of what a remake should be, and how game publishers should take notes on the amount of passion poured into this project. Before we begin, I just wanted to give a massive thank you to the reception received on my last video of Power Up. I love talking about my obsession with video games and their amazing designs, so see this as a 25 subscriber special. Now then, let's start off with the graphics. What you're seeing on screen is the Source engine completely pushed beyond its limits. That's right, this is the same engine that runs Gary's mod, CSGO, and Half-Life 2. It's amazing just how graphically advanced this entire game looks. It's astounding just how great this engine looked after so many years and has truly stood the test of time. As much as I love the original game, the graphics look very outdated compared to the influx of modern games that use nearly enough photorealism to sell an immersive experience. However, at the time, this was peak, and Valve made sure that you recognized that it was peak with a long train sequence into the Black Mesa facility. Black Mesa phenomenally adapts the same formula by showing off the capabilities of the Source engine, with amazing graphical fidelity and incredible tracking of light sources. However, there was an official Source port of Half-Life, known as Half-Life Source, which was supposed to be the official port of the original game by Valve. But it's rather a lazy cash grab of the undeniable potential that this engine possesses. And in general, it just sucked, man. It wasn't the best. So it was time for fans to give this game the upgrade that it truly deserved. Everything from the lighting, particle effects and high polygon designs of each single NPC and environment of this game has been given a specific amount of attention to detail. Never would I have ever thought to see the day that my favorite video game of all time is completely redone from the ground up with this amount of polish and perfection. The environments are so atmospheric and really immerse you into the experience. Props to Crowbar Collective for also capturing the game's most pivotal moments and enhancing the overall visual design. Whenever I am playing Black Mesa, I take a break from the action to admire the amazing scenery and appreciate the story and what it's trying to convey with its environments. For those who have never played Half-Life, the story is rather simple in today's date. You're a scientist known as Gordon Freeman who has chosen to partake in an experiment that aims to create a bridge between Earth and the alien world, but this goes wrong, resulting in hostile and territorial creatures that reside on that planet to be teleported straight into the Black Mesa research facility, resulting in the world finding out about the catastrophe. The military are ordered to execute everyone in the facility, including the survivors. The simple gist of it is that you're one man against both races with the help from fellow survivors who are looking to escape the facility as well. The original game was very action and platform oriented, giving the player the choice of gunning down anyone in their sight. Where Black Mesa shines is its ability to further expand on the original game's lore, properly communicating to the player just how dire the situation is. The subtle storytelling shows just how impactful the resonance cascade was inside of the facility. There are multiple examples of this, but the one that stands out to me is the beginning of Office Complex. The soundtrack introduces a more melodic piano to indicate that you're stuck in this mess, with the radio in the background delivering the news to the public of what has happened inside the Black Mesa research facility.
The following message is transmitted at the request of local authorities. at 9:47 a.m. Mountain Time. A disaster of unknown type has occurred at the Black Mesa Research Facility, causing significant damage and failure to various power and communication systems in the surrounding areas. An immediate evacuation order has been issued for all residents within a 75-mile radius of the facility, and on-site military has been dispatched to provide assistance. Make sure to bring an emergency supply of food, water, clothing, first aid kit, flashlights with extra batteries, and battery-powered radios. Follow local evacuation routes, which have been marked by local authorities, and only use one vehicle. Do not return to the warning area until the all clear has been given. If you are not in the evacuation zone, stay where you are. If you are within the evacuation area and have no transportation, locate your nearest police department or military officer. Do not use telephones or cell phones, except in the case of emergencies. Stay tuned to local news media outlets for further details and information on this situation.
This gives me the feeling of dread and despair. The reason being is the concept of action speaking louder than words, as the player is experiencing death and destruction right in front of their eyes. It's also very eerie listening to the man in the radio give step-by-step instructions on how the public should react to this situation, downplaying just how traumatic the struggle to escape this nightmare truly is. Of course, this is just an example, as there are many heartfelt moments in the game that connect with the player and communicate the true collapse of Black Mesa. There are many more dialogue heavy sequences in the game compared to the original as a method of downtime from the action, but they never overstay their welcome and use the sophisticated formula that Valve has introduced of refusing to put cutscenes during the experience, never taking control of the player so that everybody has a unique way of playing their games. Introduction to each enemy variety and their mechanics are also conveyed perfectly here, putting more juice into the original game's enemy introductions. My top 5 examples being the introduction of the soldiers, who take over the intercoms and announcements before introducing themselves.
Rescued at last. Thank God you're here.
The tentacles and Garg, as well as the Gonarch, are also heard before they're even introduced into the game visually, which is perfect. The introduction to the headcrab zombies are also horrific, as you hear their screams down the hallway and listen to the ominous noises that they make. Story is key to immersing the player into the experience, and Black Mesa tells it perfectly through the eyes of Gordon Freeman. The original gameplay of Half-Life is free and never stops the player from getting extremely creative with how they tackle a situation. For example, I could individually smash every single box in this hallway, but I am reminded that I have grenades in my arsenal. It's little things like that that make the replayability more fun and engaging. Black Mesa replicates this perfectly, staying true and faithful to its source material, and with the help of the source engine, smashing boxes has never been so fun and satisfying. They have also taken notes from Valve's iconic show don't tell formula, which makes solving puzzles more satisfying. The weapons also sound extremely punchy and more realistic, further immersing the experience. Subtle quality of life changes have also been made. In the original game, Gordon would sprint right off the bat the moment the W key is pressed. Black Mesa changes Gordon's default speed to walking, which could be more of an excuse to take in the phenomenal atmosphere in front of you, but it introduces a sprint mechanic when needed. This makes speedrunning compared to the original game rather slow, but pays off in the long run for replayability. Sprint for so long and press the crouch key, and Gordon can also do a slide, which is helpful at times. The annoying long jump mechanic has also been improved from the original game, now being used as a double jump to leap yourself forward in the Zen chapters, as well as safely cushion yourself from fall damage. The original game suffered near the end with its frustrating sequences of platforming and unfair deaths, so it was a great way to experience the game without having a mental breakdown because I was off by a centimeter of this stupid fucking moving platform. Everything in Black Mesa just works perfectly. Black Mesa's level design is downright perfection. Never at any point did I feel lost or blame the game for not directing me in the correct way. If I was roaming around for minutes on end, it was my own fault, since paths are more subtly lit or visually enticing for the player to enter. The levels intelligently set problems for the player to figure out. An example of this can be seen right at the beginning of the game, where the poor scientist is blowing up the toilet and asks you for some toilet paper. If the player is curious, they can give it to him. This shows that if the player hadn't messed around with the physics of the game earlier, they can subtly be told that they can pick up small objects in the game. Another perfect example of this is in Unforeseen Consequences, where the player must pick up a retinal scanner in order to progress. This is once again so unique for the developers to understand that the player is smart and doesn't need their hand held throughout the entirety of the game, just to get a story across. Unlike most games that tell you to press each key or put you in a scripted sequence or deliver an entire waypoint for you to get from one place to the other, completely breaking the aspect of an open world. The levels are also extended and redesigned to be convenient for the player to traverse through. One of the main arguments of playing the original Half-Life was its platforming. Some of it was rather janky, and one little misstep could plummet Gordon into his doom. So it's great that Black Mesa makes the experience more manageable and less stress-inducing. The original Half-Life had many bangers that can be even played at the gym. Black Mesa's approach to the soundtrack is a lot more atmospheric, fitting in its already distressing tone. Action-heavy sequences make you feel like a complete badass as you're using everything in your arsenal to take down the threat ahead of you. It's a completely new soundtrack compared to the original and captures the atmospheric visuals of the situation in front of you. I've mentioned immersion countless times throughout this video, but it's true. There are many prime examples of this throughout the game, but what stands out to me are the Zen chapters, especially the Gonok fight. This thing has been attempting to hunt you down at every given opportunity, and every time you are met face to face with the creature, you are the one who's unprepared and must run for your life to avoid it. The music gives an intense build up to every single encounter with this disgusting mama with a testicle. No matter how many bullets and rockets you pour into this thing, it just doesn't die. That's until you're backed into a corner and the most intensive score plays. It's so satisfying for the player to finally stand their ground and face the creature head on in an unescapable arena, with the climax of the score communicating this simple sentence: only one of you are going to make it out alive. It makes the boss battle seem personal, especially at the end when the huge thing is spewing out everything in its arsenal to kill you, whilst its injured legs attempt to drag itself closer to you before eventually giving up. It's phenomenal stuff. And with that, this video ends. Black Mesa encapsulates the raw beauty of Half-Life and adds amazing changes to the original. The game is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Seeing the likes and positive feedback on my last video makes me determined to make more deep dives into the art of video games. Do let me know in the comments if there are any games or even individual enemies from said games that you'd like for me to talk about and dive into. And I'll see you in the next one.